Hello, my dears. Daniela here, and welcome to another episode of the Spa Marketing Made Easy podcast. So at the beginning of the year, we welcomed Sara and Melissa into our high-level coaching program called Growth Factor. They had just completed year one of their business, and they managed in 1 year to cross that coveted six-figure line, which is an incredible accomplishment on its own. So every month we've been inviting them on as guests to give you kind of a behind the scenes look at these two very driven women estheticians, so you can see what it really takes to get to that next level. What does it take to hit six figures in year one and to go beyond that in year two? So I'm super excited to tell you that they've just passed their total revenue goal from last year, even with a global pandemic happening. And in this episode, they share what their reopening strategy is, because they were closed, just like most people, for 3 months. So what I really want to acknowledge about these two is their focus on what's actually happening right now and their ability and acceptance to adapt to that moment. So there's always going to be things that happen in our lives. And I know that a lot of the struggle that people are going through right now is just how uncertain everything is. And it's true, like we have zero control over the fact that we are right in the middle of a global pandemic. But what we do have control over is how we react to it. How are we going to turn this obstacle into an opportunity, right? So I want you guys to listen to this interview, and see what Sara and Melissa are doing to create something so positive in their business. All right, Sara and Melissa, welcome back to the Spa Marketing Made Easy podcast. I am so excited to have you guys here for this conversation I've been looking forward to for so long, because you guys are back open for business after the COVID-19 shutdown. I feel like we're going to be like telling our grandkids about the COVID-19 shutdown.
I say it all the time. I'm like, we are living history right now. Like this is going to be in the history books for our grandchildren and things like that. So yeah, it's pretty wild, but we're so happy to be back. For what we thought was going to be 2 weeks, that turned into 3 months. We're ready to go. We're happy to be back, and our clients aren't skipping a beat, and neither are we, and it's been great.
So what has the reaction been like? So tell me, well, let's just start with kind of what was your opening strategy, and what has the reaction with your clients been like? Have they been coming back in droves? Are they, what has that whole process been like?
So we created our own phases reopening. Obviously, every state has their own reopening phases for what is allowed to be permitted to be open. So when we were able to reopen, we created our own phases just that we felt comfortable in. Mm-hmm. So phase one was just strictly eyebrow waxing and Brazilians, just because at that time you could wear the mask. It wasn't permitted in New Jersey to remove the mask for a service yet. So we thought that was the best way to reintroduce our clients back into the spa, and making sure that we're keeping it as sanitary as possible while also following the government guidelines. Once we were then able to remove masks for the services, we now are in our phase two, which is mini services. So less contact time. However, our facials are a little bit more pricey, but they're much more corrective in a shorter amount of time. So a lot of modalities are being used within each service. We're pricing them at $75. It's typically a $150 service to about $200 service, but it's in a shorter period of time.
How much shorter?
So 20, 25 minutes or so. Okay. We allow ourselves 30 minutes so that we still have the ability to check people out and whatnot.
Okay. Yeah. So typically our regular services, which we will go into for phase 3 are roughly 45 to 60 minutes. There's no set time with our services just because everyone's skin is completely different. We tell them to allot about 60 minutes for each service. But ours is really just about each individual client. We don't go based off of the number on a clock. So our mini services are 25 minutes. And during that time, they are getting as corrective results as possible, just because everyone's skin is suffering tremendously because of this. So we created 3 different facials that would be geared towards pretty much anyone. We have a starter facial, we have a mask knee facial, and then we have a stem cell facial. So it's really just about rebalancing the skin, correcting any concerns that are present within this current time. Mask knee is huge right now. And then just getting everyone's skin back on a normal routine of coming to the spa.
Now, how did you guys create your own phases, and what is the data points that you're looking for to move into the next phase? Is it just time for you guys, or are you looking at like the data that's coming out from like Johns Hopkins, or what are you looking at to know like, okay, we feel comfortable moving into our phase 3?
I think it's more of like how comfortable we feel and how comfortable our clients feel. So we know that with this, the numbers are going to spike and then drop and spike and then drop. And, Florida's obviously having a big issue right now where it wasn't such of an issue earlier. It's going to be this constant back and forth. So until I feel comfortable and Sara feels comfortable and our clients feel comfortable being in that proximity of one another for an extended period of time, we probably won't get to phase 3. I'm anticipating it's probably going to be come September, but then we're probably going to have to dial it back. And, it might not come back again till maybe March. I don't know. Really, there's so many unknowns right now. This hasn't happened before. There's nothing to indicate what's going to happen. So it's kind of like you just have to go with the flow and be prepared for if we do have another shutdown, or just to keep everyone as safe as possible.
And we really try to listen. We've created a community within our clients, and we really try to listen to feedback. We touch base with every single client that we have personally. We reach out to them either by phone or by email. And we do a touch base prior to us opening, saying, hey, this is when we're opening. This is what we're offering, giving them an indication into our phases and seeing what their comfort level is. So we really are listening to our clients as well, which I would highly suggest for other people. Obviously, every single salon is going to have their own phases or restrictions and whatnot. But I think for us, what's always kind of valued us on the side is we are a little bit smaller. Mm-hmm. So in terms of what we need to do might not compare to somebody that has a larger facility in terms of, I know that there's some that need to be at 50% capacity. Whereas for us, we've never had more than maybe 6 people tops in our facility at once, simply because it's Melissa, myself, then the clients we're currently seeing, plus maybe the ones for the next time. Mm-hmm.
So you have that opportunity.
Right.
That's something that, going back to what Melissa just said about going with the flow, I think that that's something that you guys really have shown up in such a big way. And you've had incredible numbers too. Like this shutdown really, it was like, okay, so this is what's happening right now. And this is how we're going to step up and react, right? Instead of going into that fear-based mindset of like, what am I going to do? My business is closing. You guys just didn't miss a beat and went up and were like, all right, online store, facial in a box, like coming up with all of these different things to really make it positive. And I love how, Melissa, when you were speaking, you were completely comfortable with, hey, this is where we're at right now. And this is awesome. And we're doing great, but there might be another shutdown and that's okay too. And I think that having that mentality and just being prepared on all avenues, because it's true. Like until there's a proven vaccine, coronavirus is in our life, right? And so, there's different arguments of when that will actually be available at scale. And so we need to be operating our business in that space that's like, hey, if we can't do services, instead of focusing on what we can't do, let's focus on what we can do.
Absolutely.
And that was something that in Growth Factor, the women that are in Growth Factor, like I was so impressed with how many just got their online stores up. They got in front of the camera. They were every single day on social media. It was like no more was the question of like, I'm afraid to do Facebook Live. Like that went out the window. Now it's like, all right, I'm doing $1,000 a day in retail. I'm doing it, and that was the new conversation. So I think it's really incredible to see how much our clients really do support us and how much opportunity, how much money's being left on the table.
Right.
Because imagine if you were doing that, showing up every day on social media in an authentic way, in an educational way, where could your business be if you had been doing that from day one?
And I think it's amazing because even in the Growth Factor that we're a part of, I mean, so many of us women talked with each other, either did our own separate, some of us were on each other's lives or just like some people launched podcasts and whatnot, but we really showed up for one another and we had we shared everything, or some of us would be like, oh my gosh, that's a great idea. We're going to do that as well, or this is our spin on it. And there's no competitiveness in it whatsoever. And I think we had the ability to really crunch down what our costs were and where. And it was just really wonderful because I think that everybody adapted. And, it's really important to show up live because sometimes a lot of people, in terms of your clients, they really look at you from maybe more of like a mental, they need you on an emotional level as well. So you showing up and being educational, which they adore, but really you're being present for them when you don't know their circumstances or what they're going through. And I think it's good to be present for other people. And I think it's good to adapt. And I know Melissa and I are great at adapting to literally any scenario.
Well, I think I was going to say, I think that's such a good point that we provide so much more than just facials.
We do.
And we don't realize, like, I think a lot of people over the shutdown were part of the reason they were suffering was because of missing out on that social interaction. They didn't realize how important we are social beings, right? They didn't understand how important those social connections have been. And for a lot of people, like the connection that they have with their esthetician and being able, it's not just like getting these great treatments and making your skin feel, I mean, that lowers your stress level, but it's also like doing something for yourself, having somebody to talk to, having touch, just touching and interacting with another human being. Those are all really healing things.
Nurturing.
Yeah. And you take that away. And I think it's not just like, oh man, this mask is really messing up my skin. It's this not having that nurturing aspect of my life that I looked forward to every day that lowered my stress levels every day, every month.
Right.
Every day would be great, but every month, it is a very impactful thing. I mean, I know me as a new mom, like going through the first 12 weeks of insanity with a newborn, there were so many times that I wanted to just like, I just want to get a massage, or I just want to go get my toes done, or I just want to, because it's like you need that time to nurture yourself and give yourself that self-care so that you can come back and just be like, oh, it's totally normal that I'm getting pooped on and spit up on, or like, it's okay,
Right.
It's good to disconnect while also connecting at the same, like almost disconnect from your day-to-day life. And then you connect with somebody else, whether that's your esthetician, and then you go back. It's kind of like a nice little, not break, but it really almost reconnects you to
filling up your cup.
It does. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely
absolutely. And we were just talking about that the other day. We were talking about estheticians and like how we were talking about how great our client base is right now and how we truly enjoy every single one of our clients and are excited to see them on a bi-weekly or monthly basis. And Sara was like, yeah. And it's crazy because they just as excited as we are to see them, they are to see us.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I'm like, wow, that like really puts it into perspective. Like they book in their calendar once or twice a month to come and connect with us. It is, I mean, obviously there is that skin component, but it's that.
It's not something to take lightly. It's not something to take lightly.
But I think too, it's like really, for all the estheticians out there, I think everybody would be able to relate to in terms of you're creating a relationship with somebody and you either vibe with your clients or you vibe with your esthetician, and you almost have to be committed to be in a relationship essentially, and want to look forward to seeing one another. Them being an expert and educational is obviously important as well, but you really have to connect with somebody, and then that connection is really what makes it the experience that it is.
And I think with the shutdown, seeing you guys, like specific to your spa, seeing you guys show up every day on social, calling all of your clients, reaching out to them, that makes them feel, that deepens the relationship, right? Because they feel like, oh, they're checking in on me. They value me as a human being. I'm not just a number of $200 this week or whatever. Like it really,
and we reached out to people that maybe came in once and we didn't even check on them and their skin. We were like, how are you doing during all of this? Like, we're thinking about you. If you need to talk to anybody, just let us know. And there was many people that were like, I'm really struggling. Like, I'm really struggling. And you reaching out to me has been tremendous. Like, thank you so much. So just like a little kind note, word, whatever, it really does go a very long way.
And Melissa and I are really big on, we try to post a lot of inspirational, positive quotes and whatnot on our social media daily, multiple ones, because sometimes it really just connects with somebody in particular, or it inspires somebody. And, it is more than just skincare. Obviously, we love skincare and I could talk about ingredients all day long, but it really is deeper than that. And I think we all found during the shutdown and everything that's going on, how much we all need one another.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what is your guys' plan? Do you have a plan in place if there is another shutdown? Like, seeing the reality of, 15,000 new cases in Florida, let's hope that nothing happens, that we do go through a second wave. But if it does, what have you learned from the first shutdown to help you if there is a second one?
So what we found was we knew this, but 50% of our revenue was immediately cut. So we knew that service was 50% of our revenue and that retail was the other 50%. So that's why we really went into retailing facials to go, having all of the product lines that we are partnered with on our e-commerce store, having that in place. So that we were able to sustain those numbers. And we were absolutely able to. I think we did, it was exactly 50% of what was anticipated during that time. We've still, which is super exciting, we've hit our 1 year, 6 months in. So we're super excited about that.
With the shutdown, that's awesome.
Yeah.
In the shutdown. So that was like definitely keeping us motivated and keeping us going. But it's really just being ready, having systems in place, making sure that you know what your next line of action is, to ensure that you're going to do it the right way. So it's hard. It's really hard. We got the PPP. That was only for 8 weeks. It went much longer than that. So we really weren't, we were obviously having revenue, but we weren't so much paying ourselves during that time until we were open again. But having systems in place, knowing what your next step of action is going to be if something should occur again is the most important thing. And I believe you had a whole thing on recession proof, right?
Yeah.
Well, I thought there was going to be a recession, and it was before the COVID shutdown. I was like, you guys, we are due for a recession. Let's talk about this. We actually started in January beefing up our business savings account because I was like, it's coming. Like there's going to be a recession coming. I had no idea there's going to be a freaking global pandemic at the time of my birth. It's like, I'm going into labor and the entire world is falling apart. This is great. But yeah, I had been doing a lot of, even as far as October of last year at the Beauty Business Summit, I was talking about recession proofing your business and creating multiple streams of revenue and building e-commerce stores. And because I think that's just normal business. We go through a recession every 10 to 12 years. We're due for one. And
I think that regardless if one just happens, like that's just like a good, it's just good to always have in your back pocket. Like you said, let's start beefing up bank account. But if you can have that all the time, you really should have no stress or no worry. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you know that you'll be able to glide through it and you'll still be able to come up, have action, sell retail, etc.
I think that's why I'm so strong on knowing your metrics and knowing your numbers.
I was just going to say that. Yeah. I think I know the worksheets that you have too, the profitability one, when you can actually see it either on a spreadsheet or just written down, or if you have to look at something in terms of if you're going to discount something, if you know your numbers and you understand where you have wiggle room or where you don't, I mean, that's what's going to help you in terms of adapting for come September if something happens again. That's where you have to really look like, okay, do I need to offer this service right now? And should I be even offering this, or should I be only focused on certain ones? Or are these products, do these help me more? Do I want to do a private label line? You have to really know your numbers, look at what it is. And if you feel like something makes you uneasy for now, just to prepare, I would just cut it out. Melissa and I luckily had the ability to have, I know there's some people that have drop shipping, but if you can communicate with some of your skincare companies and if they can ship for you and you can still receive some sort of a commission off of that, I think that is huge. Just ask, the
worst thing that they're going to say is no. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, but I think that knowing, for me personally, in my kind of business journey over the past, 14, 15 years, I went from managing spas, being a spa director, running my own business. And it was always, anytime there was anything emotional that I was getting anxiety or worried about, it was because I didn't know the metric and I didn't fully understand that service, that treatment, what was going on. Once I had it on paper, that like, here's the profit margin, here's where we're at, here's our numbers, here's our projections. Once you can see that in black and white in front of you, it removes the emotion, because it's the uncertainty that people get so just out of sorts with. And I think that's what we saw so much with this shutdown, is that fear of uncertainty.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think too, like, it's just, numbers don't lie, so it does take that emotional aspect out. But I think too, if anybody even during this still feels like they're in complete chaos and feels like they're just uneasy, it sounds like, I know when we were at the, back in January at the AMS, there was many girls that were like, they need an accountability buddy, essentially. If you still feel like you don't know your numbers and whatnot, like maybe Melissa and I have each other. And that's one thing that I'm always so grateful for, because her and I can check in. But there's many business owners that don't have another partner, or maybe they get too reliant on their employees. And then maybe during all this, that one employee needed to leave or something. But when you have a community of people or you have spreadsheets or anything like that, I think you're really able to have a lot more confidence. And if I could give any type of guidance to anybody, is try to find that confidence in yourself. What makes you so excited about being an esthetician, and what makes you so excited about loving it? You need to want it really bad, and you're there for a purpose for other people. So if you can find that confidence, and if you feel like it's lacking, then maybe you need a community of people.
Yeah. Very good. Well, is there anything else that you ladies would like to add for estheticians out there? That was a great PSA, Sarah. Find your people.
Find your people. Yeah. Melissa, do you? I think I'll comment.
I think it's super important for you to understand fully what's going on in your business. So if you are an owner of a business of a spa, and you have people doing your bookkeeping, you have front desk staff, you have all of these people in place, you need to also know exactly what is going on in your business. And I think that'll help alleviate a lot of, like you said, the uncertainty or the unknown. You should be able to do everything that all of your employees do. And by having structure, by having systems, by creating, all of these things, it's going to be very empowering, and it's going to create much more peace in your life.
Very good. Well, thank you ladies so much. I always love talking with you. I'm excited to catch up next month and see where you guys are at in your business. And for those of you listening, if you want to keep this conversation going, please head on over to the Spa Marketing Made Easy Facebook group. Tag us in the group. Let us know your questions, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
Awesome. Bye, guys.